Let us talk about the ancient one they call Thoth. Thoth was the name given by the Greeks to the Kemetic Tamarian deity and god Jehudi, which is where they got the word Jew from. Jehudi. He is also known for other names, like Zehudi, Tehudi, Tahudi, Tetu, Techu, Tajwan, Lord of Kemenu, Hermes, 3 times great, thrice times great, Thoth, the lunar god, or the moon, or the dim eye of Haru, the god of magic, writing, knowledge, secrets, equilibrium, the wise dome, the god of wisdom. Attic, his dome is of an ibis with a beak that resembles a crescent moon. He is sometimes depicted as a baboon holding up a crescent moon, as the baboon was said to represent the night as nocturnal, but intelligent in thought as a creature or creature. Thoth is said to depict the baboon as he orchestrates as the scribe in the underworld who records the verdicts of the deceased in the hall of Ma'at, being the wearer of fates, the recorder of times, the master of balances, the mediator of good and bad, or good and evil. Thoth was also the scribe for the gods, as he created and invented hieroglyphs, the alphabet, spells for the book of breathing, the book of the dead. Thoth. He was credited for making the calculations for the establishment of the heaven, stars, and earth, and everything within it. He was also credited for the science of numbers, geometry, theology, astrology, astronomy, medicine, the tarot deck, the tarot cards, music, which is more related to Hathor, but without Thoth, Thoth was said to be the reason why we have 365 days a year instead of 360. And due to the baboon Thoth being the lunar god of the moon, he holds influence over the light at night, allowing the time to still be measured without the sun, Ra. Though Thoth was considered the dim eye or moon eye of Haru or Horus, which is where we get the word hours from, but they just moved the U, which means they moved you. Thoth was also deemed as the heart and tongue of Ra, as well as the means by which Ra's will was translated into speech. Thoth is also linked to the logos of Plato and the mind of God, the All. But in the Ogdog cosmology, Thoth actually gave birth to Ra, Atum, Nefertum, Khepri, Via, laying an egg while in ibis form, being the goose that laid the golden egg. Now, some stories say that Thoth was the son of Ra, while others deem that Thoth created his own self through the power of language, which could represent the word of the beginning, or similar to the phrase in the gospel, or the gold spell, or the ghost spell, according to St. John, where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. His song was thought to have created 8 deities of the Ogdo." So it is quite clear that Thoth, the God, deals in supreme thought, supreme DNA, Jehudi, aka Thoth. He was inserted into many tales as the wise counsel and the persuader, the master gambler, the master persuaser, the master of persuasion. The master of persuasion. The master gambler. The master of persuasion. In saying this, is it fair to say that Thoth, the Kemetic deity, is the immeasurable boundaries and boundless representation of supreme thought? Because in order to be a master of persuasion, the mind must embrace the rule of mental balance. To put this in layman terms, emotion creates movement and action. You can have a presentation and be the master at getting people's emotions revved up and ready. But to only rely on emotion, or to only rely on emotional upliftment to persuade your listeners, will only have a short-term effect and end up at an imbalance. Because emotions fade off and fade away. And if there's not enough right logic to strengthen the balance of the persuasion, then the listeners is left without a solid leg to stand on. Logic is what creates the foundation for emotion. For many of us, this balance between logic and emotion is called the twin engines of influence and persuasion. See, most of us are persuaded by logic, but moved by emotion. Most of us make decisions off emotion, but try to justify it through logic. To only use logic to persuade an audience may not move many because the emotion is not there. They cannot feel you all the way. There's no, or not enough energy in motion, brothers and sisters. So is it safe to say that emotion will always, or most likely, win over logic? Is it safe to say that the imagination, the nation of Magi, the I-Magi nation, or MacGyver or Magiver, will always win over reality? Something to think about, brothers and sisters. Let's get to the next one.